Guys, back with Fred Ashford. We're two of the strongest deadlifters in the history.
Check that out, man. That's a bicep.
That's a
bicep.
No,
that's a bicep. Never mind. I'll put it down.
That's a potato. I look so small next to you. I want to go eat something. Let's go hit a buffet. Hey, guys, we're talking powerlifting. Me and Fred are two of the strongest deadlifters in the history of the over 40 class, also known as the geezer class. So we just want to make sure you know that we pick up heavy stuff, don't we, Fred?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we're talking powerlifting. We want to give some advice in this video about those of you who are entering your first meet. Fred, any place you want to start with this?
Yeah, I would like to start with the beginning, entering the meet.
Get your ass to a meet.
Yeah, get your ass to a meet. I've competed in probably 60 meets and judged or helped, and now I tend to announce and run meets more than anything, but probably over 300 meets. So meets are second nature to me. It's when I walk into a meet, if you wrestled in high school and you get the smell, you think you're home. That's when I'm home, when I see chalk in the air and I can smell ammonia tabs. And hell, sometimes even before work, I'll break an ammonia tab just to get the high going. Yeah. But so you got a buddy or you got a friend or it's just you, which is great, and you're going to go to a meet. You look on the internet, you see a meet posted. You could find them on Powerlifting Watch. It's an easy meet search, or any organization, and you search through and you go, this is the meet I'm going to go to. And they usually have downloadable entries. I think all of them do now. You can enter online and you just enter.
Yeah, I just want to interject here because, you get a lot of questions like, which federation should I do? Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you what my opinion is, and Fred, you can chime in on yours. What federation? It doesn't matter. If you're natural, who cares if you're entering an untested meet? Just find a local meet, one that, you can ask a few people that have been to meet if it's well run. You don't even have to know that if it's been well run. Just pick a meet that's close and go to it.
Absolutely, especially for your first one. So you found the meet, you've downloaded the entry form, and you've signed up for the meet. And you're going to have to buy, with most, I think every organization, their card. That is the library card to get you in the organization.
And that's usually good for about a year.
Yeah, and you're going to spend about $30-35 on that, plus the entry fee. Do yourself a favor in your first meet, whether you're a push-pull, bench press only, or a 3-lift meet, which I encourage. Just don't spend a whole lot of money your first meet and enter all these divisions. Enter one division, whether it's the novice, intermediate, wherever you want to. It doesn't matter. You're competing against yourself. Enter it. Send it in. Know where the meet's at, and know what time the weigh-ins are. And here's the thing about weigh-ins. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say there's different classes. You have, like for me, we're over 40 lifters, and sometimes I want to compete. I don't know whether to compete in the open. I don't want to, over 40. They have, police divisions. They have all kinds of divisions. Like Fred said, don't spend your money. Don't go chasing records your first meet out. Don't go entering 248 divisions. Just pick one, go cheap as possible, use it as a learning experience.
Absolutely. So most organizations, and I'm going to speak generalities, there could be some differences, but they have two weigh-ins. They have weigh-ins the early evening before the meet. So if it's a Saturday meet, which most meets are, and some are large enough where it's 2-day meets. If it's a Saturday meet, they'll have a Friday evening weigh-in. And most lifters, new lifters, say, well, do you have to weigh in again in the morning? No. Once you weigh in, you can go pig out and gain weight or do whatever you want. And I encourage, as Steve does, especially for your first few meets, don't cut weight, just show up.
Don't gain weight either.
Yeah, just show up. And so there's a weigh-in the morning of the meet, too. And it'll say the times on the entry form. So you weigh in, and then the meet starts. Meets usually start anywhere from 9 to 10 a.m. Meets are notoriously slow to start, too. And the meet announcer, and ask a lot, hey, so when am I supposed to lift? When am I supposed to lift? The meet announcer will tell you, hey, lifting starts at this time. And this is how a lift will start, a meet will start. The squats will start, and they'll divide the squats into flights. And these flights are divided by weight class. So they'll have all the women, and this is an example, this could change. All the women and lifters under 148 are in flight A. 165 to 198 is flight B, and 220s to fat boys are in flight C. What does this mean? What this means is everybody in flight A will get their first attempt squat in, and then they'll get their second attempt squat in from lightest to heaviest, and then their third attempt squat from lightest to heaviest, and then you'll move to flight B. Why is that important? Well, let's say you're a 198-pound lifter and you're in flight B. You start warming up your squats as soon as the second attempts start in flight A. That's why they do it. It makes the meet move very quickly. Back in the day, they used to just go from, at the start of the day, the lightest to the heaviest. And what would happen is you would get these guys following themselves. So there'd be 3-minute rest in between, 3-minute rest in between. So when they call your name, you got the flights down, you're warmed up, you're getting ready for your first squat attempt. Gosh, it's an exciting time. You're wrapping up if you're using wraps. You're getting ready for the meet, and they call your name. They're going to call, okay, Steve Shaw's up next, Fred Ashford's on deck, and Jonathan Bird's in the hole, meaning Jonathan Bird's the third squatter up. And Jonathan will be sitting there after Steve does his squat. He'll start wrapping up while I go up and out squat Steve. And then he'll get all wrapped up and he'll go up. And once they call his name and say the bar is loaded, Jonathan will have 1 minute to complete his squat. And he'll get his squat in, then you go to the scores table and you turn in your next attempt. This happens on the bench press and this happens on the deadlift as well. And that's how a meet's run. It's a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, a lot of things going on when you're in the meet. I would encourage you to go watch a meet. It is probably the worst thing you'll ever have to do.
Not just watch, but actually maybe go backstage a little bit and watch how the warm-ups go before the flights.
Because if you're just a participant, I feel sorry for folks that have kids and their spouses that just sit there. It can be a long day. If you're participating, it's a quick day. So get involved, get in meets, go to your first meet, have fun. Because before your first meet is over, you know what's going to happen. You're going to start figuring out when your second meet is.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things a tip I want to give you guys is when you're at your first meet, you know, you might have a little anxiety. You might not know when to warm up. It's usually better to start warming up a little bit earlier rather than a little bit later. Because if you get in late in the game and all of a sudden you're a fat boy like us and you got these guys warming up with 1,000-pound squats and you decide to get in your first squat with the bar, I mean, you're just jumping in a little bit late. So when I'm at a meet, I'll get those first two warm-ups in, like for squats, a bar and a 135 in real early. I mean, not super early, but I'd rather err on the side of caution, get them in a little bit earlier before the bar really starts getting loaded.
It's a great idea. Here's a couple other tips that I do. Don't worry about, bringing a heck of a lot of food, just the normal things you eat. Bring a lot of hydration. You're going to be drier than you think. Bring a lot of stuff to drink. There's probably not going to be a lot of water available. You think there will. The meat promoter thinks they will. And then the cups get lost. So bring a lot of water. Bring a lot of hydration. For your morning breakfast, please don't eat anything that you're not used to.
Yeah, you don't want to be puking.
No, and if you go to Phoenix, if you go to Phoenix, Arizona, and you're not used to Mexican food, and you have chorizo and eggs and frijoles, it's not going to be a good sight on the squat platform. No. And then this is what I do, and I'll give beginners this advice. I work out in the evenings. That's when I lift, and it's hard for me to get going at 9 o'clock in the morning in the squat. So I get up and go to especially for a local meet, I find some local gym or whatever, and I take a walk. I do some light cardio. I get into the day a little bit earlier than normal. So if you're not a morning lifter, recognize that's going to be different for you.
Well, I kind of get there early, too. I'm not a morning lifter, but I like to I'm usually at the venue before everybody. I'm walking around. I'm getting settled in mentally, getting my body temperature up. So it's kind of almost the same thing.
Yeah.
You talked about something that I believe is extremely important. That's hydration. When you're sitting there at a meet, your body temperature is up, your anxiety level is up, and you don't realize how much you're sweating and you're burning through water. I constantly have a shaker. Now, you can go with BCAAs, you can go with protein powder. I'll usually add like a half scoop, and I'm just constantly drinking throughout that day. And if you're not peeing, every couple of hours at a meet, you're probably not hydrated. So just make sure you stay hydrated. And a tip I have, Fred, is there are some long meets out there. And if you're at your first meet and you're standing up all day long, what's going to happen to you on those second and third deadlift attempts?
Oh, you're going to be dead in the water, man.
Your lower back is not going to be with the program. So my advice is when you're not lifting, get your butt on a chair and sit as much as possible. Save your feet, save your lower back. Because if you're not used to standing up and walking all day long and you're at one of these 12-hour meets, by the time you get to your deadlifts, your lower back might not want to deadlift. So those are the big tips I have. Entering your first meet, what do there's so many different divisions, wraps and raw. Any advice for guys that might not be using wraps right now, but don't really know, should I start using them? Should I just change anything in the gym? What should I do differently from a programming standpoint?
So it's a good question. If you're not using wraps now and your intent is to enter a meet and then the next 2 or 3 months, that's how I would enter the meet, is raw without wraps.
Do what you're doing.
Do what you're doing. Do what you're doing. And it takes, it's like Richie Rich on MAB. It takes about 6 months to introduce wraps to a lifter and have him get used to wraps. I don't know how much it takes to get used to gear. That's a segment of another video. But it takes about 6 months. So do what you're doing. Get used to what you're doing. Go in with where you weigh and have fun.
Same with programming. Guys will often say, hey, man, I want to do a powerlifting meet. What should I do for programming? Nothing differently. If you're making progress in your current program, don't do anything differently. Just make sure you're rested going into the meet. Take a few rest days. Make sure your body's recovered and just go do what you do. If you want to try a different type of programming after that meet, then that's the time to do it. But if it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
Exactly.
All right, guys, we're going to pause this video right here. We're going to come back with one more video, so stick around.